The warning lights on Captain Jake Morrison's ship flashed red as the emergency signal came through the deep space communication system. He had been drinking his morning coffee and reading reports from Earth when the message started playing. The voice that came through the speakers was high and musical, the way all Zephyrian voices sounded to human ears. "This is Research Station Alpha on Zephy's Prime. We are under attack. Our people are dying. Please, anyone who receives this message. We need help immediately." Jake set down his coffee cup and walked quickly to the bridge of his ship, the Harbinger. His crew was already at their stations, their faces serious as they listened to the repeated message from the Zephyrians. "How long has this been broadcasting?" Jake asked his communications officer, Lieutenant Lisa Park. "About 20 minutes. Sir," Lisa replied. "We're picking up the same message from 17 other human ships in this sector. The signal is coming from Zephy's Prime, about 6 hours away at maximum speed." Jake knew about the Zephyrians. They were one of the kindest species in the galaxy. Their planet was home to the most important medical research center in known space. They studied dangerous diseases and created medicines that saved millions of lives across dozens of different worlds. They had never hurt anyone and spent their time helping others. "What kind of attack?" Jake asked. His science officer, Dr. Karen White, looked up from her computer screen. "Sir, I'm reading reports from other ships that are closer to Zephy's Prime. It appears to be some kind of biological weapon. The Vorthan Collective has surrounded the planet with warships." Jake felt his stomach tighten. The Vorthans were brutal warriors who conquered worlds for fun and profit. They were 3 meters tall with natural armor and had destroyed entire civilizations just to take their resources. If they were attacking the peaceful Zephyrians, it meant they wanted something specific from the research station. "Sir, we're receiving another transmission," Lisa said. "This one is coming directly to us." The voice that came through was different this time. It belonged to Dr. Zika Nara, one of the Zephyrian scientists who had helped establish the first human medical colonies. Jake had met him once during a diplomatic mission. "Captain Morrison, if you are receiving this, please know that the situation is very bad. The Vorthans have released a weapon designed to kill only Zephyrians. It spreads through the air and attacks our immune system. Thousands are already dead. They have surrounded our planet and will not let anyone leave. We believe they want to steal our research before we all die. Please tell the galaxy what happened here." The message ended with static. Jake looked around his bridge at his crew. Every one of them had been with him for at least 2 years. They had fought space pirates together, rescued trapped miners, and explored dangerous new worlds. They were good people who believed in doing the right thing. "Sir, what are your orders?" asked his second-in-command, Commander Rick Stone. Jake thought about the situation. The Harbinger was a patrol ship, not a warship. It had decent weapons and shields, but nothing that could fight 30 Vorthan cruisers. The smart thing would be to report this to Earth Command and let them decide what to do. That was the proper procedure. But Jake also remembered how the Zephyrians had helped humanity when they first joined the galactic community. Most alien species were afraid of humans because they came from what everyone called a death world. Earth was considered one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy because of its extreme weather, deadly animals, and the fact that humans had evolved to be predators. The Zephyrians had been different. They had welcomed humans and shared their medical knowledge freely. They had helped cure diseases that had killed millions of people on human colonies. Dr. Zikanara himself had worked for 3 years, developing vaccines that saved human children from alien viruses. "Set course for Zephy's Prime," Jake ordered. "Maximum speed." "Sir," Rick said carefully, "we can't fight 30 Vorthan warships by ourselves." "I know," Jake replied. "But we can't let them die alone, either. Lisa, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them what's happening and that we need backup." Tell them the Zephyrians are calling for help." As the Harbinger jumped to faster-than-light speed, Jake went to his private quarters and opened a secure communication channel to Earth. Within minutes, he was talking to Admiral Kate Sullivan at Defense Headquarters. "Jake, I've already heard about the situation," the Admiral said. Her face looked tired on the video screen. "How bad is it?" "Bad, ma'am. The Vorthons have the entire planet surrounded. They've released some kind of bioweapon that only kills Zephyrians. From what I can tell, they're planning to wipe out the population and steal all the research data." Admiral Sullivan was quiet for a moment. Jake had known her for 10 years, since before he became a ship captain. She was one of the smartest people in the Earth Defense Force and had never lost a battle. "Jake, I want you to maintain your course to Zephy's Prime, but do not engage the Vorthon fleet. Your job is to observe and report. We're sending backup, but it will take time to get there." "What kind of backup, ma'am?" The Admiral's expression became very serious. "The kind that will make the Vorthons wish they had never heard of Deathworlders." The communication ended, leaving Jake alone with his thoughts. He had heard rumors about secret Earth defense projects, ships and weapons that were being developed in hidden facilities. Most of the galaxy still thought of humans as newcomers who were trying to find their place among the stars. They had no idea what Earth was really capable of. As the Harbinger raced through space toward Zephy's Prime, Jake received more reports from other human ships in the area. The situation was getting worse by the hour. The Vorthon bioweapon was spreading faster than anyone had expected. Entire cities on Zephy's Prime had gone silent. "Captain, we're receiving a weak signal from the planet's surface," Lisa reported. "It's Dr. Zekanara again." The Zephyrian scientist's voice was much weaker this time. "To anyone listening, we estimate that 60% of our population is already dead or dying. The weapon attacks our respiratory system and nervous system at the same time. We have tried everything, but nothing works. Our children are dying first because their immune systems are not fully developed. If anyone receives this message, please remember that we tried to help everyone. We never wanted to hurt anyone. We just wanted to heal the sick and help the galaxy become a better place." The bridge became very quiet. Jake could see that his crew was angry. Humans had a strong sense of right and wrong, probably because they had evolved on a planet where survival depended on cooperation and protecting the weak members of the group. "Sir, we're dropping out of faster-than-light speed in 10 minutes, reported his navigation officer, Ensign Tim Clark. "We should be able to see Zephy's Prime soon." Jake returned to his captain's chair and prepared for what they might find. He knew that whatever Earth Command was sending as backup, it would arrive. Too late to save most of the Zephyrians. The bioweapon was working too fast. But he also knew something that the Vorthons did not. Humans did not forgive attacks on innocent people. They especially did not forgive attacks on people who had helped them. The Zephyrians had been friends to humanity when no one else would even talk to them. The Vorthons were about to learn why. The rest of the galaxy called Earth a death world. They were about to discover that when Deathworlders received a distress call, they did not send medical ships or rescue teams. They sent something much more dangerous. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the war room deep beneath Earth's defense headquarters. Around her, dozens of officers worked at computer screens, coordinating humanity's response to the crisis on Zephy's Prime. The room hummed with activity as reports came in from across human space. "Ma'am, we have confirmation that the Vorthon Collective has deployed their entire Third Fleet around Zephy's Prime," reported Colonel Frank Davis. 31 heavy cruisers, each one carrying at least 2,000 troops. Kate studied the holographic display showing the Zephy's system. The Vorthon ships formed a perfect blockade around the planet, preventing any rescue ships from getting through. It was a classic siege tactic, and the Vorthons were experts at it. "What about the bioweapon?" Kate asked Dr. Maria Santos, Earth's leading expert on alien biology, looked up from her datapad. It's specifically designed to target Zephyrian physiology. From what we can tell, it attacks their immune system and nervous system at the same time. The mortality rate appears to be nearly 100%. Kate felt anger building in her chest. The Zephyrians had been humanity's first real friends in the galaxy. When other species had been afraid of humans or simply ignored them, the Zephyrians had welcomed them with open arms. They had shared their medical knowledge freely and had saved countless human lives. "Ma'am, the President is on the secure line," announced Lieutenant Colonel Amy Chun. Kate walked to her private communication booth and activated the encrypted channel. President Johnson's face appeared on the screen, looking tired and worried. "Kate, tell me we have options," the President said. "We do, sir, but they're not pretty. The Vorthans have overwhelming numerical superiority. If we send a conventional fleet, we'll lose ships and probably not save anyone." The President was quiet for a moment. "What about the Reaper?" Kate had been hoping he would ask that question. "The Reaper is ready, sir. Commander Torres and his crew have been training for exactly this kind of mission." "But Kate, if we deploy the Reaper, the whole galaxy will know about it. There's no way to keep it secret." Admiral Sullivan understood the President's concern. The Reaper was humanity's most classified project, a warship unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It had been built in the hidden shipyards beyond Pluto, using technology that most alien species would consider impossible or immoral. "Sir, the Zephyrians are dying right now. Every hour we wait, thousands more die. The Vorthans chose to attack innocent people who never hurt anyone. I think it's time the galaxy learned what happens when someone threatens humanity's friends." The President nodded slowly. "You have my authorization. Deploy the Reaper." 3 hours later, Commander Ben Torres stood on the bridge of the most dangerous ship humanity had ever built. The Reaper was not like other spaceships. Its hull was made from materials found only in Earth's most radioactive zones, making it nearly impossible to destroy. Its weapon systems were designed not for clean space battles, but for the kind of brutal warfare that humans had perfected during their rise to civilization. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Captain Morrison," reported the communications. "Officer, Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez," Jake Morrison's voice came through the speakers. "Ben, the situation here is worse than we thought. The Vorthans aren't just blockading the planet. They're landing troops and stealing everything they can from the research facilities. It looks like they're planning to take the bioweapon research and sell it to the highest bidder." Ben studied the tactical display. His ship was still 2 hours away from Zephy's prime, but he could already see the Vorthan fleet on his long-range sensors. 31 ships, each one larger and more heavily armed than most human vessels. But size was not everything in space combat. The Reaper had been designed by humans who understood that sometimes the best way to win a fight was to change the rules. "Sam, open a channel to the Vorthan fleet," Ben ordered. "Sir, are you sure?" Sam asked. "They don't know we're here yet." "They're about to." The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the Vorthan command ship. The alien standing in the center was typical of his species, 3 meters tall, covered in natural armor plating, with 4 arms and red eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light. "I am War Commander Thekvar of the Vorthan Collective, the alien," said in accented English. "You are in restricted space, human ship. Leave immediately or be destroyed." Ben smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. "This is Commander Torres of the Earth vessel Reaper. You have attacked our friends. You have exactly 1 chance to surrender." The Vorthan commander made a sound that might have been laughter. "1 human ship against my entire fleet. You must be insane. All ships, target the human vessel and fire." The communication ended, and Ben turned to his crew. Every one of them had been chosen for this mission because of their experience in humanity's worst conflicts. They had fought in the resource wars, the corporate rebellions, and the outer colony insurrections. They knew how to fight when outnumbered and outgunned. "All hands battle stations," Ben announced over the ship's communication system. "Remember, we're not here to play by their rules. We're here to win." The first Vorthan missiles arrived 30 seconds later. The Reaper's point defense systems, designed using human military doctrine, shot down most of them. The few that got through struck the ship's armor and exploded harmlessly. "Return fire," Ben ordered. "Target the command ship first." The Reaper's main weapon was not an energy beam or a missile launcher. It was a magnetic accelerator that could fire chunks of metal at incredible speeds. The projectiles were small, but they hit with the force of nuclear weapons. The first shot punched through the Vorthan command ship's shields and armor like they were made of paper. The second shot hit the ship's power core, and the entire vessel disappeared in a brilliant explosion. "Sir, the Vorthan fleet is regrouping," reported the tactical officer, Lieutenant Paula Green. "They're trying to surround us." "Let them," Ben replied. "Launch the boarding pods." This was the part that would shock the galaxy the most. The Reaper did not fight like other spaceships. Instead of trying to destroy enemy vessels from a distance, it sent teams of human Marines to board and capture them from the inside. The boarding pods were small, armored craft that could carry 20 Marines each. They were designed to punch through enemy hulls and allow the soldiers inside to fight their way through the ship. Most alien species considered this tactic barbaric and suicidal, but humans were different. They had evolved on a planet where everything was trying to kill them. They could survive in conditions that would kill most other species. They could fight in damaged, depressurized sections of ships. They could operate in toxic atmospheres and extreme temperatures. Sergeant First Class Pete Wilson led the first boarding team onto a Vorthan heavy cruiser. His squad of Marines moved through the alien ship like they owned it, using weapons and tactics that the Vorthans had never seen before. The Vorthans were fierce warriors on their own ships, but they had never fought an enemy that seemed to thrive in the chaos of close combat. Human soldiers moved like predators through the darkened corridors, using their natural night vision and enhanced reflexes to deadly effect. "Bridge secured," Pete reported over his radio. These lizards didn't know what hit them. Similar reports came in from boarding teams throughout the Vorthan fleet. Within 2 hours, 15 Vorthan ships had been captured or destroyed. The remaining vessels were trying to escape, but the Reaper was faster. "Sir, we're receiving surrender offers from 6 Vorthan ships," Sam reported. Ben considered the offer. In normal space combat, accepting surrender was standard procedure. But these aliens had just tried to commit genocide against an entire peaceful species. "Tell them surrender is not an option," Ben said. "They chose to kill innocent people. Now they get to learn what humans do to bullies." As the last Vorthan ship was destroyed, Jake Morrison's voice came over the communication system from the Harbinger. "Ben, that was incredible. I've never seen anything like it." "The show's not over yet, Jake. We still have to get down to the planet and deal with the Vorthan ground forces." Ben looked at the tactical display showing Zephy's Prime, the planet's surface was covered with the signs of the bioweapon attack, dead cities, toxic storms, and the chaos of a world under siege. But somewhere down there, Zephyrian survivors were still fighting for their lives. The Reaper moved into orbit around the dying planet, preparing for the next phase of the operation. Commander Torres and his crew had sent a clear message to the Vorthan fleet, but the real test was still to come. The galaxy was about to learn that when humans received a distress call from their friends, they did not send mercy missions or humanitarian aid. They sent death itself, wrapped in steel and crewed by the most dangerous species the universe had ever known. The surface of Zephy's Prime looked like a nightmare from the viewport of the Reaper's landing shuttle. Major Alex Carter pressed his face against the window, and watched the once beautiful planet pass by below, where there had been green forests and crystal-clear rivers just days ago. Now there were only twisted dead trees and orange-colored toxic fog. "Jesus," whispered Corporal Dan Mitchell, sitting beside him. "What did they do to this place?" Alex had seen war before. He had fought in the brutal resource wars on Mars and had survived the 3-year siege of Europa Station. But this was different. This was not war between soldiers. This was the deliberate murder of an entire peaceful civilization. "The bioweapon changes everything it touches," explained Dr. Helen Brooks, the Reaper's medical officer who was coming down with the first landing team. "It does not just kill Zephyrians. It poisons the air, the water, even the soil. The Vorthans designed it to make the planet uninhabitable for anyone except themselves." The shuttle shook as it entered the planet's atmosphere. Outside, Alex could see the wreckage of Zephyrian cities burning in the distance. The capital city of New Harmony, which had once housed 3 million people, was now a collection of broken buildings and empty streets. "Major, we're getting radio signals from several locations," reported the shuttle pilot, Lieutenant Tony Garcia. "Some Zephyrians are still alive down there." Alex activated his communication headset. "This is Major Carter of the Earth Defense Force. Any Zephyrian survivors, please respond." A weak voice answered immediately. It was high and musical, like all Zephyrian voices, but filled with pain and fear. "Please, are you really human? We heard your ships fighting in space. We thought maybe you had come to help us." "We're here to help," Alex replied. "Where are you located?" "We are in the basement of the Central Medical Complex. There are 43 of us left, but the Vorthan soldiers are everywhere. They are searching every building, looking for research data, and killing anyone they find." Alex looked at his team. He had brought 20 of Earth's best soldiers with him on this mission. Each one had been chosen because they could fight in conditions that would kill normal people. They had all grown up on Earth, which the galaxy called a death world because of its extreme environments and dangerous animals. Sergeant Nina Walsh checked her weapon one more time. She had been born in the Australian outback after the Great Radiation Event, and had spent her childhood fighting off mutated animals and surviving in temperatures that could kill most humans. The toxic atmosphere of Zephy's Prime was not much different from her hometown. "Major, I'm reading about 200 Vorthan life signs in the immediate area," she reported, looking at her scanner. "They've set up command posts in the main government buildings and are sending patrols through the residential areas." The shuttle landed in what had once been a beautiful park in the center of New Harmony. Now it was a wasteland of dead grass and poisoned water. Alex led his team out of the shuttle and immediately felt the burn of toxic air against his exposed skin. "Masks on," he ordered, even though he knew his people could survive in this environment longer than most species. Humans had evolved to handle poison, radiation, and extreme conditions that would kill aliens in minutes. They moved through the empty streets like ghosts. The Vorthans had not expected anyone to be able to operate in the toxic environment they had created, so their patrols were sloppy and overconfident. They walked in the open, talking loudly and not watching for enemies. The first Vorthan patrol they encountered consisted of 6 soldiers. They were huge, standing 3 meters tall with natural armor that could stop most small weapons. They carried energy rifles that could burn through steel and wore environmental suits that protected them from their own BIOWEAPON. Alex signaled for his team to spread out and surround the aliens. The humans moved through the ruins without making a sound, using skills they had learned fighting in Earth's most dangerous places. When they were in position, Alex gave the attack signal. The fight lasted exactly 37 seconds. The Vorthans were good soldiers, but they had never fought humans before. They were not prepared for enemies who could move that fast, think that quickly, or fight that viciously. When it was over, All 6 aliens were dead, and no human had been injured. "Sir, we've got their weapons and equipment," Nina reported. "These energy rifles are pretty nice, and their armor might fit some of our bigger guys." Alex nodded and led his team toward the medical complex. Along the way, they encountered 3 more Vorthan patrols. Each fight was shorter than the last as the humans learned how the aliens moved and thought. By the time they reached the medical complex, Alex's team had killed 22 Vorthan soldiers without losing anyone. The Central Medical Complex had once been one of the most beautiful buildings in the galaxy. It was designed to look like a growing flower with curved walls and windows that let in natural light. Now it was a broken shell, with holes in the walls and toxic fog drifting through the corridors. "Down here," called a weak voice from a stairway leading to the basement. "Please hurry. Some of our people are very sick." Alex led his team down the stairs and found the Zephyrian survivors huddled in what had once been a storage room. They were small, delicate beings with large eyes and smooth blue skin. Normally, Zephyrians moved with grace and spoke in voices like singing birds. These survivors looked like they were dying. Dr. Helen Brooks immediately went to work, checking the aliens with her medical scanner. "Major, this is bad. The bioweapon is still in their systems. They need treatment immediately, or they'll all be dead within hours. Can you help them?" Alex asked. Helen looked at her readings and frowned. "Maybe. The bioweapon attacks their immune system in a way that's similar to some Earth diseases. Human blood contains antibodies that might be able to neutralize it. But I've never tried this before. It could kill them instead of helping them." One of the Zephyrians, who seemed to be their leader, spoke up. "Please try anything. We are dying anyway. If there is a chance, we must take it." While Helen worked on a possible cure, Alex and his team secured the building. They found 12 more Vorthan soldiers searching the upper floors and eliminated them quickly. The aliens had been looking for research data, specifically information about biological weapons and disease treatments. "Sir, you need to see this," called Corporal Mitchell from one of the research labs. "The Vorthans have been downloading everything from the Zephyrian computers. Looks like they're planning to sell bioweapons to anyone who will pay." Alex looked at the alien computer terminals and felt his anger growing. The Zephyrians had spent centuries developing cures for diseases that killed people across the galaxy. Now the Vorthans wanted to steal that knowledge and turn it into weapons for profit. His communication device crackled to life. It was Commander Torres from the Reaper in orbit above them. "Alex, we're tracking more Vorthan ships approaching the system. Looks like reinforcements. Can you speed up whatever you're doing down there?" "We're working on it, sir. We found survivors, and Dr. Brooks is trying to develop a treatment for the bioweapon. But we need more time. Time is something we don't have much of. The approaching ships are carrying ground troops, probably another 1,000 soldiers." Alex looked around at his small team. 20 humans against 1,000 Vorthan warriors. On any other world, those would be impossible odds. But this was not any other world, and humans were not any other species. "Nina, take half the team and set up defensive positions around the medical complex," Alex ordered. "Dan, take the other half and start hunting Vorthan patrols. I want them too busy fighting us to call for help when their reinforcements arrive." "Sir," Nina said, grinning behind her face mask, "are we really going to try to hold off 1,000 enemy soldiers?" Alex checked his weapon and thought about the peaceful Zephyrians dying in the basement below them. He thought about how these same aliens had saved thousands of human lives by sharing their medical knowledge. He thought about how the Vorthans had chosen to attack innocent people who had never hurt anyone. "Nina, we're not going to try to hold them off," Alex replied. "We're going to kill every single one of them." As night fell over the ruins of New Harmony, the humans began their work. They moved through the toxic fog like deadly shadows, hunting the aliens who had brought genocide to a peaceful world. The Vorthons had expected to find a dying planet with no resistance. Instead, they found something much worse. They found humans who were angry. The battle for Zephy's Prime was just beginning, and the Vorthons were about to learn why the rest of the galaxy feared the species from the Deathworld called Earth. Dr. Helen Brooks worked through the night in the makeshift laboratory she had set up in the basement of the medical complex. Around her, the Zephyrian survivors watched with desperate hope as she mixed human blood with alien medicines, trying to find a cure for the bioweapon that was killing them. The antibodies in human blood are reacting with the Vorthon weapon, she explained to Dr. Veltara, one of the Zephyrian scientists who was still strong enough to help. Our immune systems evolved to fight diseases that would kill most other species. That might be exactly what we need here. Above them, they could hear the sounds of fighting as Major Carter's soldiers battled Vorthon patrols throughout the ruined city. Every few minutes, the building would shake from explosions, and Helen would have to steady her equipment to keep working. Dr. Brooks called Corporal Mitchell over the radio. "We've got incoming. Vorthon troop ships are landing about 2 kilometers. From your position, looks like at least 500 soldiers." Helen's hands never stopped moving as she prepared the first batch of cure. "How long do we have?" "Maybe an hour before they organize and start moving this way." Dr. Veltara looked at the small amount of medicine Helen had created. "This is enough to treat perhaps 10 of our people. But there are 43 of us here, and thousands more scattered across the planet." Helen nodded grimly. "I know, but we have to start somewhere. If this works, we can make more." She filled a syringe with the experimental cure and approached the sickest Zephyrian, a young female who had been barely breathing for the past hour. The alien's blue skin had turned gray, and her large eyes were clouded with pain. "This might hurt," Helen warned, then injected the cure into the Zephyrian's arm. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the young female's breathing became easier, and color began to return to her skin. Within minutes, she was sitting up and looking around with clear eyes. "It works," Dr. Veltara whispered. "By the stars, it actually works." Helen immediately began preparing more doses, but she knew they had a problem. Creating the cure required fresh human blood, and there were only 20 humans on the planet. They could not produce enough medicine to save all the Zephyrian survivors, even if they gave every drop of blood in their bodies. "Dr. Brooks, this is Major Carter," came the voice over her radio. "We've made contact with another group of survivors on the other side of the city. About 60 Zephyrians holed up in a school building, but the Vorthons are closing in on them fast." Helen looked at the small amount of cure she had been able to make. "I can treat maybe 20 more people with what I have. After that, I need time to produce more. Time is something we're running short on. The Vorthon reinforcements are setting up a command post in the old government building. They're bringing in heavy weapons and trying to coordinate their patrols." Outside, the sounds of battle were getting closer. Sergeant Walsh's voice crackled over the radio from her defensive position on the building's roof. "Major, we've got about 50 Vorthons moving toward our position from the east. They're using some kind of scanning equipment, probably looking for life signs." Helen continued working, trying not to think about what would happen if the Vorthons found them before she could save more lives. She had injected the cure into 15 Zephyrians so far, and all of them were recovering. But the process was slow, and she was running out of blood samples. "Dr. Veltara, I need you to contact any other Zephyrian survivors you can reach," Helen said. "Tell them we have a cure, but they need to get here if they want it." The Zephyrian scientist activated a small communication device. "This is Dr. Veltara broadcasting on emergency frequency 7. We are at the Central Medical Complex with human soldiers who have developed a cure for the bioweapon. If you can reach us safely, we can help you. Responses came immediately from across the city. Zephyrian voices, weak but hopeful, reported their locations. Helen counted at least 8 different groups, totaling more than 300 survivors. But most of them were too sick to travel, and the city was crawling with Vorthan soldiers. "Major Carter, we need to go get them," Helen said over the radio. "I can't make enough cure here to treat everyone, but if we can bring the survivors to US, we can save them. Helen, we're already fighting for our lives here. I can't send my people across the city on rescue missions." Before Helen could respond, a new voice joined the conversation. It was Commander Torres from the Reaper. "Major, this is Torres. We've been monitoring your situation from orbit. The Vorthan reinforcements are bigger than we thought. We're reading over 1,000 ground troops, plus air support." "Sir, Dr. Brooks has developed a cure for the bioweapon," Alex reported. "But we need to rescue survivors from across the city. We can't do that and defend this position at the same time." "Commander." Torres was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke again, and Helen could hear the determination in his voice. "Alex, you and your people focus on protecting Dr. Brooks and the survivors you have. The Reaper is coming down to help with the rescue mission." Helen looked up from her work in surprise. "Commander, can a ship that size even land on a planet?" "The Reaper was designed for this kind of mission, Doctor. We're not just a space warship. We're an assault platform that can operate anywhere humans need to fight." 20 minutes later, Helen felt the ground shake as the massive human warship descended through the toxic atmosphere of Zephy's Prime. Through the basement windows, she could see the ship's landing lights cutting through the orange fog as it settled onto what had once been the city's main plaza. "All Vorthan forces, this is Commander Torres of the Earth vessel Reaper," came an announcement that echoed across the ruined city. "You have attacked innocent people and committed genocide. Surrender now, or face the consequences." The Vorthan response came in the form of heavy weapons fire directed at the Reaper. Energy beams and missiles struck the ship's hull, but they had no effect. The Reaper had been built to withstand attacks that would destroy normal vessels. "I guess that's their answer," Torres said over the radio. "All teams, begin rescue operations. Let's show these aliens what happens when they mess with our friends." From the basement of the medical complex, Helen watched as human soldiers poured out of the Reaper and spread across the city. They moved in small teams, each one heading toward a different group of Zephyrian survivors. The humans fought their way through Vorthan positions with the efficiency that was almost scary to watch. "Dr. Brooks, this is Rescue Team 3, came a voice over the radio. We've reached the school building. 62 Zephyrian survivors, all of them sick but alive. We're bringing them to you now. Team 5 here. We found 43 survivors in an underground shelter. They're in bad shape, but we can get them to the medical complex in about 20 minutes. More reports came in as the human rescue teams worked across the city. Helen realized that the soldiers were not just fighting the Vorthans, they were hunting them. The humans moved through the toxic environment like it was their natural habitat, using the poisoned fog and ruined buildings to hide from their enemies. "Dr. Veltara, we're going to need a lot more space," Helen said as she prepared another batch of cure. "And I'm going to need blood donations from every human on the planet." The Zephyrian scientist smiled for the first time since the attack. "Began, Dr. Brooks, I think we can solve both problems. There are medical facilities throughout the city that the Vorthans have not damaged. If your soldiers can secure them, we can set up multiple treatment centers." Over the next 4 hours, the humans transformed the battle for Zephy's Prime into a massive rescue operation. Teams of soldiers secured medical facilities across the city while Dr. Brooks and her Zephyrian colleagues set up treatment centers. In each location, every human on the planet donated blood multiple times, pushing their bodies to the limit to produce enough cure for the survivors. "Major, we've got a problem," reported Sergeant Walsh from her position overlooking the city. More Vorthan ships are coming. Looks like they're bringing in their entire army. Alex looked at the tactical display on his communication device. 3 more troopships were approaching the planet, carrying at least 2,000 additional soldiers. Commander Torres, are you seeing this? We see them, Major. Don't worry about the ships. The Reaper will handle them. You focus on saving lives. Helen watched from the window as the Reaper's weapons systems activated. The ship's main guns fired into space, and moments later, brilliant explosions lit up the sky as the incoming Vorthan vessels were destroyed before they could land. All Vorthan ground forces, this is your final warning, Torres announced. Leave this planet immediately, or share the fate of your reinforcements. By dawn, the tide of battle had completely turned. The humans had rescued over 400 Zephyrian survivors and were treating them with the cure that Dr. Brooks had developed. The remaining Vorthan forces were trapped in isolated pockets throughout the city, cut off from supplies and reinforcements. Dr. Brooks, the cure is working better than we hoped, reported Dr. Voltara. Not only is it neutralizing the bioweapon, but it seems to be repairing the damage to our immune systems. Some of our people are already strong enough to help with the rescue operations. Helen smiled as she watched recovered Zephyrians working alongside human soldiers to save their remaining people. 3 months after the liberation of Zephy's Prime, the Galactic Council chamber on the space station Unity buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from 47 different species filled the enormous hall, their voices creating a symphony of alien languages as they discussed what had happened on the distant world. Ambassador Zheltar of the Zephyrian Republic stood at the speaker's podium, his blue skin healthy and bright under the chamber's lights. Just months ago, he had been dying from the Vorthan bioweapon. Now he was completely recovered, thanks to the cure developed by Dr. Helen Brooks and her human colleagues. Fellow beings of the galaxy, Zheltar began, his musical voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. Today we gather to discuss events that have changed everything we thought we knew about our newest members, the humans of Earth. In the human delegation box, Admiral Kate Sullivan sat beside Captain Jake Morrison and Commander Ben Torres. All 3 had been called to testify about the battle for Zephy's Prime. Kate could feel the eyes of dozens of alien species watching them, some with fear, others with respect, and a few with something that might have been awe. When the Vorthan collective attacked our world with their bioweapon, Zheltar continued, we sent out distress calls to anyone who might help us. We expected medical ships, perhaps some defensive support. What we received was something entirely different. The main display screen activated, showing images from the battle. Video footage captured by Zephyrian survivors showed human soldiers moving through toxic fog that should have killed them, fighting Vorthan warriors twice their size, and carrying sick aliens to safety while bombs exploded around them. The humans did not send aid ships, Zheltar said. They sent warships. They did not come to rescue us. They came to destroy our enemies completely. A murmur ran through the chamber. Many of the species present had fought wars before, but most of them followed ancient rules about how conflicts should be conducted. Humans, it seemed, followed different rules entirely. Ambassador Kextul of the Regellian Federation stood up in his delegation box. The Regellians were known as master strategists who had won hundreds of battles through careful planning and superior numbers. Ambassador Zheltar, Kextul said, we have all read the reports from Zephy's Prime. According to these documents, 20 human soldiers held off over 1,000 Vorthan troops for several hours. The Vorthans are among the finest warriors in the galaxy. How is such a thing possible? Jake Morrison activated his communication device. May I answer that question, sir? The council president, an ancient being from the Centauri system, nodded. His permission. The Vorthans are excellent soldiers when fighting by traditional rules, Jake said. But humans don't fight by traditional rules. We fight to win, using whatever methods work best. When someone attacks innocent people, we don't hold back. Another ambassador stood up. This one belonged to the Tau Ceti Collective, a species known for their peaceful nature and advanced technology. Captain Morrison, our military experts have analyzed the battle recordings. Your soldiers used tactics that many species would consider barbaric. You fought in toxic environments that should have killed you. You boarded enemy ships while they were still firing their weapons. You showed no mercy to enemies who tried to. Surrender. Commander Torres stood up in the human delegation box. Sir, with respect, the Vorthans were committing genocide. They had already killed millions of innocent Zephyrians and were planning to sell bioweapons to other terrorists. We did what was necessary to stop them. But the level of violence, the Tau Ceti ambassador continued, it was unlike anything we have seen in modern warfare. Your ship, the Reaper, destroyed an entire fleet without taking significant damage. Your ground forces eliminated enemy troops with an efficiency that our computer models say should be impossible. Admiral Sullivan finally spoke up. Honorable delegates, I think you're missing the point. Yes, humans are capable of extreme violence when necessary. We evolved on a world that most of you classify as uninhabitable. We learned to fight because everything on our planet was trying to kill us. She paused and looked around the chamber at the assembled aliens. But we only use that capability to protect the innocent. The Zephyrians have been our friends since we joined the galactic community. When someone attacks our friends, we respond with everything we have. Ambassador Geltar activated the display again, this time showing footage of human soldiers carrying sick Zephyrians to safety, sharing their own food and water with survivors, and working alongside Zephyrian doctors to treat the wounded. The humans could have simply destroyed the Vorthan forces and left, Geltar said. Instead, they stayed for weeks, helping us rebuild our cities and restore our damaged ecosystem. Dr. Brooks and her medical team worked around the clock to ensure that every survivor received treatment. They gave their own blood, literally, to save our people. The chamber fell silent as the delegates absorbed this information. Many of them had heard rumors about the battle for Zephy's Prime, but seeing the actual footage was different. It showed a side of humanity that most aliens had never seen before. Council President Mordek called for order as the discussion period ended. We will now vote on the Zephyrian proposal to grant the Terran Federation permanent membership on the Security Council with full military authorization powers. This was unprecedented. No species had ever been granted Security Council membership so quickly after joining the galactic community. The Security Council was reserved for the oldest and most trusted civilizations, species that had proven their wisdom and restraint over thousands of years. But the events on Zephy's Prime had changed everything. For the first time in galactic history, a species had demonstrated both the ability and the willingness to stop genocide, even when it meant fighting overwhelming odds. The voting began with the Zephyrian Republic, who cast the first yes vote. One by one, other species followed. The Rigelian Federation voted yes. The Tau Ceti Collective voted yes. Even the traditionally neutral Andromedan Union voted in favor of the proposal. When the final vote was counted, the result was 47 in favor, 0 opposed. It was the first unanimous vote in Council history. The motion passes, President Mordek announced. The Terran Federation is hereby granted permanent membership on the Galactic Security Council, with full authority to respond to threats against civilian populations. As the ceremony concluded and the delegates began to leave, Jake Morrison found himself standing beside Ben Torres on the observation deck of Unity Station. Through the massive windows, they could see Earth turning slowly in the distance, its blue and white surface looking peaceful and beautiful. Think they finally understand what we're capable of? Jake asked. Ben considered the question. I think they understand that we're not just another species trying to find our place in the galaxy. We're the ones they call when someone needs to be stopped. And if they threaten innocent people again, then they'll learn the same lesson the Vorthans learned, Ben replied. When humans receive a distress call, we don't send mercy missions, we send justice. Over the following months, word of the Battle of Zephyrs Prime spread throughout the galaxy. The story grew with each telling, but the essential facts remained the same. A peaceful species had been attacked by genocidal terrorists, and the humans had responded with overwhelming force. Space pirates began avoiding systems under human protection. Terrorist groups found their recruitment efforts hampered by the knowledge that humanity was watching. Several long-running conflicts ended when both sides realized that their violence might attract the attention of the species from the Deathworld. Phrase, the SOS reached Deathworlders, became famous throughout known space. It was not a call for help anymore. It was a warning to anyone who thought they could commit atrocities in the darkness between stars. When civilizations sent out distress calls, they knew that humans would respond. They also knew that humanity's response would not be gentle or forgiving. It would be exactly what the situation required, delivered by the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever known. The Harbinger and the Reaper became the first ships in what would eventually grow into the Terran Defense Fleet. Their crews, led by officers like Jake Morrison and Ben Torres, became legends throughout the galaxy. But they were also symbols of something larger. They represented humanity's promise to the universe, that evil would not go unchallenged, that genocide would not go unpunished, and that innocent people would always have protectors, no matter how dangerous those protectors might be. The galaxy had learned that when Deathworlders received an SOS, they did not send aid. They sent a reckoning, wrapped in steel and crewed by beings who understood that sometimes the only way to preserve peace was to be very good at war.